Hello, everyone. Welcome to the March Madness Round of 64 edition of the Bacon Bets podcast. If you didn't catch yesterday's episode, check that out because I broke down my bracket for the NCAA Tournament. I also gave out my picks for the first 4 games. I'm recording this episode on Tuesday night, so there's about 8 minutes left in this North Carolina game. It's basically all decided, so I figured I'd start recording. So if you want my picks for the Wednesday night first 4 games, you'll get those on yesterday's episode. Today's episode, I'm going to be breaking down my best bet for 30 of the 32 round of 64 games. As I do every year, I've done this the past number of years now. I bet on every single NCAA tournament game, either a side, total, or moneyline underdog. The same as I do in the NFL, I do for the NCAA tournament. Hot start so far, 2-0. Cashed in on St. Francis with the points in the first 4 game, and then UNC, I laid the points with them because San Diego State's from the Mountain West, and 7.5 minutes left, and UNC is up by 40 points. So this might be the easiest win that we'll have all NCAA tournament, but hey, good start, 2-0, undefeated, never lost. My dub club will be dropping tomorrow with the rest of my picks, $5,000 if you want the rest of my picks for March Madness. Just kidding. The rest of my picks will be on this podcast throughout the tournament. So I'm not even going to do an intro. I'm not going to do kind of like an opening monologue. I'm not going to yap at all. I got 30 picks to get through. Obviously, there's 32 games in the round of 64, but I can't give out picks for the games involving the winner of who are the Mount St. Mary's and whatever bum team they're playing, and then Xavier, Texas tomorrow night, because we obviously don't know which of those games are, which of those teams will be moving on to the actual round of 64. So for those 2 games, what team is it that that has to face those teams? So 1 seed, so it must be Duke, because I don't think I handicap a Duke pick. I'm just going to bring up the bracket really quick. Yeah, it's Duke takes on the winner of American Mount St. Mary's. And the 11 seed winner will take on... it's Mississippi takes on the winner of tonight's game. Why don't I see the other one? Drake is that 11 seed. VCU is that 11 seed. Texas Xavier takes on Illinois, of course. So I'll have to tweet out those picks, unfortunately. I'm not going to do a podcast just to give out those 2 picks. So follow me on Twitter at Iain MacBets. And I will, when those games are decided tomorrow night, I will tweet out my picks for Illinois against Texas Xavier and Duke against American or Mount St. Mary. So no intro. We're just straight shooting this. So I got my picks locked in, the 30 picks for the games that are available. Actually, I don't for the UNC Mississippi. I figure by the halfway through recording, this game's going to end and the line's going to be released somewhere. If not released already, actually. Let me take a quick look because UNC is obviously going to win. Let me see if that no, I don't see it yet. No. All right, it actually is released on DraftKings. Okay, I'm gonna lock that pick in right now, and I'll talk about it when I get to it. Actually, why don't we just start there? Because I don't have it in my notes actually, so maybe I'll just give it to you now so I don't forget. I'll take UNC. I will take UNC. There right now. I'm seeing at DraftKings -1.5, -112 against Ole Miss. I didn't think UNC deserved to be in the tournament based on how they played against Quad 1 teams this year. What was it, like a 1-13 record or something against Quad 1 teams? But I actually think UNC is a solid team. It's a team that I bet on a decent amount this season. So I like UNC. I don't really like Ole Miss. Ole Miss is not really a great shooting team. They don't really do too much well. They force some turnovers well. But UNC actually has done a pretty good job of hanging on to the ball, and you got to like the momentum that we see from UNC after tonight. Obviously, a little bit of chip on their shoulder. A lot of people didn't think they deserved making it in, and like I said, hey, if we're basing off record, they didn't deserve. If we're basing it on the best 64 teams, they do deserve it. But that's obviously not the way that it's decided. But now they're in the tournament, and I'll take a -1.5 against Ole Miss. I don't really know what people see in Ole Miss. Obviously, a couple of solid wins this season, but I think North Carolina matches up well against them. Yeah, Ole Miss 158th in effective field goal percentage, a little bit better defensively, 84th in defensive efficiency. UNC outranks them in both of those categories. Yeah, extra scoring chances per game. They don't rank high. UNC also doesn't rank super well in that, but anything close to a pick 'em, I was going to take UNC regardless, and they're -1.5. So, yep, that's a good line for me. First pick will be UNC -1.5. What did I say the juice was? -112 against Ole Miss. All right, let's start now. We're going to go chronological order, starting with the first game of the tournament, which is Creighton against Louisville, the Battle of the Birds. The Blue Jays against the Cardinals. It's Thursday afternoon. It's the first game of the tournament. We're all going to be pumped. Let's just go ahead and bet the over. Let's root for points in this one. I got it over 145.5 at -110. Pretty straightforward handicap here. These two teams shoot the three ball a ton. 10th and 19th in three-point shot rate. So they both shoot the three a lot, but neither of them defend the three ball a lot. They are both outside the top 100 in perimeter defense, an opponent three-point field goal percentage. They also play both at an above average pace. So I think we can hit the over here. I think we're going to see a lot of threes. And hey, if either one of them, hopefully both, but if either one of them get hot from three, those points add up in a hurry. So yeah, we're going to start with the total in this one. If you want my pick on the side, flip a coin. Creighton's a very good shooting team. They struggle when it comes to creating extra scoring chances. Louisville's not as good of a shooting team, but they're a little bit better in some of those fundamental areas. So I would much rather just bet the over in this one, and that's what I'm going to do for the first game on Thursday. Creighton, Louisville, over 145.5, -110. You'll notice as I go along, some of these games, my handicaps are a little bit short. Some of them are a little bit more in depth. It is what it is. Listen, if I had a 10-minute handicap for every game, this podcast would be 3 hours long, if not longer. Let's move on to Purdue and High Point. High Point is a popular team, a popular underdog in the opening round, a popular upset pick. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying in on High Point. Very good shooting team. They're 12th in effective field goal percentage, but Purdue is just as good, 15th in effective field goal percentage. So basically the same shooting numbers, but obviously Purdue has faced much stronger competition this season. Actually, across the board, a lot of very similar metrics. And for me to want to take High Point in this situation, especially with the spread only at 7.5, I would need High Point. I would need to see them with significantly better metrics than Purdue. Because don't forget, Purdue and High Point have the same rankings in a lot of those metrics, but Purdue obviously facing much tougher competition. And actually, I don't like High Point's history in out-of-conference games this season. They lost by 10 points to Missouri State. They lost by 4 points to UNC Greensboro. Unless I missed something, they didn't play a single team from a power conference during their out-of-conference schedule. So that gives me a lot of concern. I think Purdue can match up with them well. I will lay the points here. I'm going to zig when other people are zagging. I'll go -7.5 with Purdue, -118. Moving on to Wisconsin and Montana. I'm going to lay the points here with Wisconsin as well. I'll go -16.5, -120 against Montana. Montana can shoot. They can shoot the ball well, but they are horrific defensively. 284th in the country in defensive efficiency. And if you're going to rank 284th in the country in defensive efficiency while playing against Big Sky opponents, good luck trying to defend this Wisconsin team that has been an electric offensive team this season. I think the Badgers cut through them like butter. And to make matters worse, Montana not only can't defend, but they rank outside the top 300 in extra scoring chances per game at -3.1. So not only are they going to be giving up possessions to Wisconsin, not only are they not going they're also not going to be able to defend Wisconsin. So yeah, they might be able to shoot, but they're going to have the best shooting game of their entire season to make up for the areas that they lack in other areas of the game, mainly creating turnovers, creating extra scoring chances, and defending. Or they got to hope that Wisconsin plays an F-ranked game, which is, of course, possible, but not probable, in my opinion. I'll take Wisconsin -16.5, -120 against Montana. The Grizzlies out of the Big Sky. All right, we got the first number 1 seed. I'll say this about Thursday, and I feel like, maybe I'm remembering incorrectly, but I feel like Thursday is a day where it's like we get pumped up for like the first game. The first game is always like a fun 8-9. The second game is decent, but then there's like a little bit of lull because we have back-to-back 1 versus 16 seeds. And then like Thursday evening is really good and Friday morning is really good. So it's like actually the best stretch of games in the first round is from Thursday evening to Friday morning. Am I wrong? Because we got Wisconsin as a big favorite over Montana. Then we got Houston, who's a 29-point favorite against SIUE, Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville. Miss me with that. I'll take Houston. Minus 29 in that one. If you listen to my bracket show yesterday, then you know that I like Houston to win it all. I've been picking them. I kind of locked them in as my pick to win about a month ago. I think they're one of the most dominant teams in the country. 89th in effective field goal percentage, but they're also first in defensive efficiency, first in extra scoring chances per game. They average plus 7.9 extra scoring chances per game. They know how to cover big numbers as well. Fourth in average scoring margin, plus 15.7. And if I think if any team can hang with Houston, it's going to be a team that can shoot the ball well, but that is not what Edwardsville does. They are 270th in effective field goal percentage at 48.9%. So now you have a terrible shooting team going up against who I think is the best defensive team in the country. SIUE may not reach 40 points in this game. So it's a massive number. It's a 29-point spread, but I will lay it with the Cougars. This is a Cougars on Cougars game, by the way. SIUE is also the Cougars. Also, there's the BYU Cougars. Is there a fourth Cougars in the tournament? Who's the... No, I was thinking of... Is it 3 Cougars? I don't like Cougars as a mascot. It's way overused. I think most schools that call themselves the Cougars should switch. I also don't like Wildcats. That might be even worse. That might be the most used mascot of all time. That's my opinion about Cougars and Wildcats. Auburn against Alabama State. Alabama State came through in what was a very exciting game here on Tuesday night. I will say, and I tweeted this out, one of the guys on the panel at CBS after the game, Seth Davis, he said, quote, "The play-in games between the 16 seeds are consistently the best games of the tournament." What are we talking about, dude? It was a super exciting game, fun to watch, back and forth. Basic, not exactly a buzzer beater, but a last-second Hail Mary toss that was caught and then laid up for the game-winning basket. It was a very exciting game. I'm not denying that, and we have seen some exciting games. But you tell me the best seeds of the entire tournament every year are 16 versus 16. Stop, dude. Why can't we just enjoy for what it was instead of saying crazy things afterwards? One of the craziest things I've ever heard. All right, shut down the tournament, guys. We've already seen the best game of the tournament. It was Alabama State against St. Francis or whatever school it was. But Alabama State is now playing against Auburn. It opened 30. It went to 32. Unfortunately, I waited. I got Auburn at minus 32. We'll see how that goes. I don't know if I've ever laid 32 points on a team before. Minus 32 against Alabama State. Listen. Good on Alabama State for making a little bit of a comeback and winning tonight. But they are 327th in effective field goal percentage. They are the worst team in the NCAA tournament in shooting, and now they have to take on an extremely good defensive team in Auburn. Alabama State's also a primarily three-point shooting team. Auburn is 5th in opponent three-point field goal percentage. So another team that I don't know if they'll reach 40 points. I mean, they could barely score in the first half against St. Francis. Now imagine them going up against Auburn. I know some people are looking to fade Auburn early in the tournament because of how they played recently. But let's be honest, guys. They've been playing against SEC teams. This is not an SEC team. Let me look up Auburn's recent games just for a quick second here. All right, Auburn. Should we be concerned about the Tigers? Oh, the Tigers, another overused mascot. Too many Tigers teams. They lost to Texas A&M, a tournament team. They lost to Alabama and Tennessee. So, yeah, they've lost 3 of their last 4, but all 3 of those games are against tournament teams, to be fair, almost the entire season, the tournament. But you have an Alabama team who's a number 2 seed and Tennessee who's, a number 3 seed in the tournament, and then Texas A&M who... say what you will about Texas A&M, but an extremely good defensive team, an extremely good team in terms of creating extra scoring chances. I don't think a 2-point loss to Alabama, a 5-point loss to Tennessee. The Texas A&M one's a little tough, but still, I'm not discounting the Tigers because they finished 2-3 on the year with losses to those teams. Let's relax. Yeah, so I have no problem laying the 32 points on Auburn against a team that can't shoot. They can't hit the ocean from a boat, as they say in Nova Scotia. They're usually they're talking about hockey. That kid can't shoot. He can't hit the fucking ocean from a boat. So yeah, Auburn minus 32. All right, moving on to McNeese and Clemson. I promise I'm not going to lay the points with every team, and I'm not going to do it here. I'm going to take the underdog here, the McNeese. The Mavericks or the Cowboys? I think the Mavericks. McNeese plus 7.5 against Clemson here. McNeese had a pretty solid, we're just going to start with their OTA conference schedule here. Pretty solid OTA conference schedule by McNeese. Lost to Alabama by just 6 points. Lost to Mississippi State by just 3 points. Didn't win those games, but they hung with 2 power conference teams who are in the tournament. An Alabama team that's a 2 seed lost them by only 6 points early in the season. It is the Cowboys. I don't know what team I was thinking of is the Mavericks, but the McNeese is the Cowboys. They attack their opponents down low, 35th in the country in 2-point shot rate, and that bodes well for them because Clemson's defensive strength is their perimeter. They're a little bit weak on the interior. They allow teams to score 52.1% of the points scored against Clemson comes from 2-point range. That ranks 280th in college basketball. So I think McNeese can also create some extra scoring chances. They grab a ton of offensive rebounds. They're 28th in offensive rebounding rate, grabbing 33.8% of available offensive boards. Clemson struggles to grab defensive rebounds, 209th in defensive rebounding rate. So if they can grab offensive rebounds, if they can attack the interior of the Clemson defense, which I believe is the weakness of the Clemson defense, I think they can cover the spread. I wouldn't be shocked if they win this game as well. This is a classic 12-5 matchup, a classic upset spot. I'm only betting one big moneyline underdog in the first round. It's not McNeese. I will take the 7.5 points, though. All right, VCU and BYU, a very fun game in the first round, but I will be taking VCU plus 3.5, minus 115. I bet this Monday morning. The line has moved on this. I don't think 3.5s are available anymore. I believe it's 2.5. I still like them at that number. Let me see what the best number on the board right now is. Yeah, you got a plus 2.5, minus 102 at DraftKings. You still have a plus 3. A plus 3 is available at Caesars. I'd probably take that. What's FanDuel? Plus 2.5, minus 105. If you can get Caesars plus 3, I'd take it. Obviously, if you can find a 3.5, take it. But I think this game comes down to the perimeter defense of the Rams. Both teams are 3-point shooting teams. 15th, BYU's 15th in the country in 3-point shot rate. VCU's 27th in 3-point shot rate, but VCU is 23rd in opponent 3-point field goal percentage. BYU is 243rd in opponent 3-point field goal percentage. They allow teams to shoot 4.2% higher from beyond the arc than VCU does. Obviously, stronger competition for BYU, but I think that margin between those two numbers is significant enough to input it into your handicapping process for this game. Rams, the VCU Rams, also 11th in the country in extra scoring chances per game, plus 5.6. And that is largely due to them being able to force turnovers. They are 32nd in opponent turnovers per game. BYU 205th in turnovers per game. So I think VCU can not only defend the BYU 3 ball, I also think they can turn the ball over enough to cover the spread, if not win the game. So VCU plus 3.5, minus 115. I do want to say something before I move on, because it is a stat that I've been using a lot this year, is extra scoring chances per game. And I just want to bring up how important I think it is. Now, this takes into consideration turnovers, opponent turnovers, defensive rebounds, and offensive rebounds. So basically shows how many, it's obvious, extra scoring chances through offensive rebounds and forcing turnovers a team creates each game. St. John's is the leader in this stat, plus 8.0. I think earlier I said Houston. That much must have just shifted after the championship games on Sunday. But it's St. John's and Houston, and then it's a full extra scoring chance away between Houston and the number 3rd ranked team. But this is how important this stat has been this season. The top 8 teams who rank in extra scoring chances per game have all made the NCAA tournament. St. John's, Houston, Texas A&M, UCLA, St. Mary's, New Mexico, UC San Diego, and Marquette. Those are your top 8 teams in extra scoring chances per game. All 8 teams are in the NCAA tournament. And most of the other ones in the top 20 are as well. You have Idaho State, and Towson, who did not. But then VCU, Drake did. Iona did not. They just lost in their conference title game, right? Or did Iona win? No, Iona didn't win because I didn't handicap it. What? I thought they won. Iona is in the MAC with an extra A, and they lost to... Who won the MAC? This is how my brain works. I get sidetracked when I'm halfway through making a point. Oh, yeah, right. They lost to Mount St. Mary's, who stinks. And then Mississippi State in the tournament. Vanderbilt in the tournament. Gonzaga in the tournament. So those are all teams. And then just outside the top 20, you have Maryland, McNeese, Duke, Utah State, Florida, Auburn, all just outside the top 20. Extra scoring chances per game has become one of my, if not my favorite stat. Now, you need some other things to go along with it, obviously. But hey, top 8 teams in that stat have made the tournament. You can't say that about any other basic stat that's out there. Moving on to now, I'm going to bet against a team that ranks high in that stat. Georgia Gonzaga. I'm out on Gonzaga. I know Ken Palm, net ranking. Ken Palm, Spen Palm. How about that? I'm out on Ken Palm. Who's Ken Palm? Who's this guy? This guy makes some rankings, then all of a sudden everyone looks out of his gospel. Fuck Ken Palm. How about that? How about that? I don't care where they rank. I don't care there's a terrible seeding giving them an 8 seed. I don't give a shit. They get too much credit for beating up on the West Coast Conference. The West Coast Conference has St. Mary's and Gonzaga are the only half-decent teams, and then San Francisco is not terrible. And I think it was like Santa Clara was the other team that's not terrible, but they still are terrible. And then the rest of the WCC, terrible. This Gonzaga team lost to West Virginia, lost to Kentucky, lost to UConn, lost to UCLA, lost to Oregon State, lost to Santa Clara. Yes, they got hot late in the season. They got hot against bad teams. Yes, they beat St. Mary's in the final, but St. Mary's beat them twice in the regular season. I know they rank very high in a lot of stats. I get it. Don't care. I'm going to take the 6.5 points with Georgia. Gonzaga does rank 52nd in the country in 2-point shot rate. Now they face a Georgia team that ranks 57th in opponent 2-point field goal percentage. Keeping teams shooting 47.8% from down low. So I think Georgia's interior defense is going to play a big role in this game. And listen, Georgia from the SEC, a lot of losses this year, but they got wins against St. John's in out-of-conference play, Kentucky, Oklahoma, Florida, Texas. They're used to playing good competition. They're not going to be fazed by Gonzaga. I'm out on Gonzaga. Could not be more out on the Bulldogs. I'll take Georgia plus 6.5. Minus 118. Moving on, we got Wofford against Tennessee. I will lay the 18.5 points in this one with the Vols here. Wofford, primarily a 3-point shooting team. They rank 23rd in the country in 3-point shot rate. 47.7% of their shots come from beyond the arc. But now they face the best perimeter defense in all of college basketball. Teams are shooting just 27.8% from beyond the arc against the Volunteers. That is the lowest mark in the nation. So based on that, and then obviously Wofford does rank 238th in defensive efficiency. So you have a 3-point shooting team going up against the best perimeter defense in the country, and then the Terriers have nothing defensively that they can do to slow down the Vols offense. So no-brainer for me. I'll lay the points with the Vols, minus 18.5. Minus 115 against the Wofford Terriers. Next up, we have Kansas against Arkansas, which is a very funny matchup. Obviously, I know that it's pronounced Arkansas. I was making a joke. Everyone relax. Kansas minus 4.5 against Arkansas. A little bit of a tough one here for me, actually. I think these two teams are actually very similar in terms of their style of play. At least a lot of their metrics add up and are very similar. But I do think Hunter Dickinson is going to be the difference maker in this game. Arkansas, shoots a lot of 2-point shots. They kind of attack the interior of their defenses, but Kansas, that's their biggest strength. 18th in the country in opponent 2-point field goal percentage. Kansas could have a little bit of an issue with turnovers. They do turn the ball over at the 151st. They're 151st in turnover rate, but Arkansas doesn't really force turnovers at all. So I think it's just going to come down to the interior defense of this Kansas defense. I will take the Jayhawks -4.5, -110. Yale against Texas A&M. It's that Ivy League every year. You got to watch out for them. You got to watch out for the Ivy League team. North Carolina, San Diego State just wrapped up. I think it was like a 30-point win. Cash that ticket. I saw some people getting cute with a San Diego State bet today. Can I actually just take a second to talk about the Mountain West? Did I talk about this last night? Can we fucking stop with the Mountain West? How does the Mountain West have 4 bids? I don't know if I did mention this last night. Why is it every year? So obviously the power conferences get a ton of bids. Big East, SEC, Big 12, Big 10, ACC. Obviously they get multiple bids. SEC this year got 1 million bids. Makes sense. Why does every mid-major struggle to get like more than 1 bid, except for the Mountain West? West Coast Conference, 2 bids at most. Atlantic 10, usually 1 bid, sometimes maybe 2 bids. But then the Mountain West gets like 4, 5, 6 every year, and then every single year they don't do anything in the tournament except for a couple years ago when San Diego State went to the final. Everyone was on the Fade Mountain West train, and then since San Diego State went on a run in the final, everyone has forgot. And since then, they've stunk. And then they stunk again tonight. Lost by 30 points to a team who shouldn't even have been in the tournament. It's embarrassing. Can we stop giving the Mountain... Imagine giving... Colorado State, no, Colorado State won the tournament, so I can't say it about them. Imagine giving New Mexico or Utah State a bid in the NCAA tournament over West Virginia. West Virginia, who beat Gonzaga, who beat ranked teams all throughout the year. Why in the hell are we giving the Mountain West multiple bids every single year when we don't give multiple bids to really any other mid-major? What's so good about the Mountain West? And don't tell me it's because I don't watch West Coast basketball. You won't find a big West fan than me. UC Irvine deserved a spot in this tournament more than Utah State, more than New Mexico. Get out of here with the Mountain West. We're back in the Ivy League. Yale +7.5, -115. I think this is one of the better Ivy League teams to come out of that conference over the past number of years. They are extremely disciplined. They're extremely well coached. They don't really have any weaknesses whatsoever. Texas A&M, do you want to know who the worst shooting team is in the tournament? Alabama State. But the second worst shooting team in the tournament, Texas A&M, the Aggies, 317th in effective field goal percentage. Yale is 41st. Texas A&M has been able to win games because of poor shooting, because they do a great job of playing defense. They do a great job of creating extra scoring chances. 3rd in the country in extra scoring chances per game, +6.9, behind only St. John's and Houston. They can do that. They can use that to beat undisciplined basketball teams, but the issue is Yale is the opposite of an undisciplined basketball team. They are well coached. They are 18th in turnovers, 21st in defensive rebounding. This is a terrible stylistic matchup for Texas A&M. They will not be able to take advantage of poorly disciplined basketball. I will take the points with the Bulldogs. +7.5. Another overused mascot, though, unfortunately. So what's our list of overused mascots? Tigers, Wildcats, Bulldogs, and Cougars. Come up with something more unique like the Anteaters. Missouri against Drake. I think Drake is the most bet-on team to cover the spread in the opening round. I think I saw that today. Don't care. Give me Missouri. -6.5. Might be the most underrated shooting team in the entire tournament. 18th in the country and 8th in the tournament in effective field goal percentage. Also, Drake, yeah, I get it. The Missouri Valley, like the Missouri Valley. Fun teams, one of my favorite mid-majors to watch. But Drake does have some issues. A very good shooting team, but they do have some issues. Mainly 283rd in the country in turnovers per possession. Missouri, 43rd in opponent turnovers per possession. So I think Missouri is going to be able to force a ton of turnovers. They are a very deep team and an extremely underrated shooting team. I think this line, I think people are getting a little, they're getting a little too hipster with this pick, in my opinion. Keep it simple, keep it straightforward. Missouri, very good team from top to bottom. I will lay the 6.5 points with the Tigers, another Tigers team. Once again, change it. I used to have the take that no team should be called the Aggies either, or we should stop with the Aggies, and a lot of people got mad at me because it's an agricultural college. They have to be called the Aggies. Don't care. Change it. Too many Aggies. UCLA against Utah State. I just had a rant about the Mountain West. What am I going to do? Bet on the Mountain West now? Nope. UCLA minus 5.5. Listen, I fell for the spell of the Mountain West probably 2 or 3 years in a row from like 2017 to 2019, or maybe it was like 2018, 2019, and then the 2021 tournament because 2020 didn't happen. I'm never falling for the Mountain West ever again. They suck every year. UCLA, 82nd in effective field goal percentage, 33rd in defensive efficiency, 4th in that key stat, extra scoring chances per game, plus 6.5. I will back the Bruins. I will lay the points of the Bruins, minus 5.5 against Utah State. St. John's against Omaha. I have not bet on St. John's a ton this season because their shooting is not good, but Omaha is going to just drown against this St. John's offense, or defense, I should say. Disastrous matchup for a mid-major team to face. Mid-majors, I feel like, are going to be able to succeed against like bad defenses but good offenses, and like they just hope the team they're playing against shoots poorly, but it's going to be hard for a team like Omaha to figure out the puzzle that is the St. John's defense. St. John's second in defensive efficiency, 4th in shooting defense. They face an Omaha team that's 277th in defensive efficiency. St. John's primarily takes 2-point shots, and now they get to face off against an Omaha defense that's 283rd in opponent 2-point field goal percentage. Team shoot 53.5% from down low against Omaha. Is it Omaha that are the Mavericks, maybe? I brought up Omaha earlier, or I brought up the Mavericks earlier. It's Omaha. I knew there was one team in this tournament that was the Mavericks. I don't mind the Mavericks. That's not an overused name. St. John's, minus 18.5, minus 115. The most popular underdog, the most popular Cinderella story of the entire tournament is a team I am very familiar with. It is the UC San Diego Tritons from the Big West, the pride of the Big West. Unfortunately defeated my Anteaters in the Big West final. Now I'm seeing two people. I'm seeing one version of analysts who are saying UC San Diego is the Cinderella pick. They're going to go on a deep run. And when I see guys on network TV say that, it's tough because they're the biggest squares of all time. But then I'm also seeing people who are saying they're too popular, so you should pick against them. I do want to warn those people who the most popular upsets were in the first round for the past 2 years. 2 years ago was Furman against Virginia. Everyone was on Furman, or there was people who were like, no, everyone's on Furman. That means it's a bad pick. Go Virginia. What happened? Furman won. Last year, it was JMU, James Madison against Wisconsin. It was a pick everyone was making. Some people were like, no, it's too obvious. You got to go the opposite way. You got to zag when everyone zigs. You got to go Wisconsin. And then what happened? JMU won. So don't let the fact that UC San Diego being a popular pick scare you away from taking them. I will be taking UC San Diego plus 2.5, minus 110. They are a trendy dog for a reason. This is an extremely good team. And not only are they a good team, they match up stylistically extremely well against Michigan. They do something that I love to see from a mid-major team in order to pull off upsets in the tournament, and that is forced turnovers. They are 4th in the country in opponent turnovers per possession. Michigan, turnovers have been an issue for them the entire season. 328th in turnovers per possession. That's going to be a huge advantage for the Tritons. And also, I do think kind of the fact that Michigan went deep in the Big Ten tournament could actually ironically hurt them, which we've seen it in the past. Teams that like not many people expect to win the tournament go on a deep tournament run, and then it's almost like an emotional hangover after you win it. I know when Virginia Tech won the ACC tournament in 2022, they had an early exit. That is just a team, for example, that I kind of remember. But then obviously, I guess there are teams like NC State last year who went on to run after winning the ACC, because I believe they won the ACC last year, right? And then went on that Cinderella run. Still, I don't have a ton of faith in Michigan. I think they played their best basketball in the conference tournament. I don't expect that to continue into the NCAA tournament. Let me just check Michigan's perimeter defense, because UC San Diego is, they're solid defending the three, but UC San Diego is a very good three-point shooting team. So I think the turnovers are going to be the biggest story of this game, though. UC San Diego 57th in three-point field goal percentage. So I'll take the 2.5 points. Not going to take money line. I'm going to be, in terms of teams money line or spread, I'm taking one money line this entire first round. I don't want to get too cute. Nothing sucks than taking a money line underdog. They don't win, but they cover the spread. All right. I guess we're still on Thursday. Oh boy. Texas Tech UNCW. I don't actually have much of a handicap. I couldn't really find an angle for this, but I'm going to take Texas Tech minus 15.5. UNC Wilmington outside the top 100 in effective field goal percentage. Good luck going against the Texas Tech defense when you can't shoot. Texas Tech is 30th. Texas Tech also 59th in three-point shot rate. They shoot a ton of threes. UNC Wilmington 214th in opponent three-point field goal percentage. That's all I got for you. Couldn't really find too big of an angle, but this is also an eye test thing. I watched UNC Wilmington in their conference tournament. Wasn't impressed. I'll take Texas Tech minus 15.5, minus 110. All right, now we're on to the Friday games. Obviously, two of the Friday games I can't handicap yet because we don't know who's playing in them. But we are going to start with Mississippi State and Baylor. Actually, another game I don't have a long handicap for because both these teams are like good to average at everything. They don't stick out anywhere. There's one angle that I found, which is that Baylor can't defend the perimeter, 277th in opponent three-point field goal percentage. Mississippi State has been pretty solid at shooting the three ball this year, and they've been actually shooting it a lot this year. So I think Mississippi State can have some success on the perimeter against Baylor. I don't know if you guys can hear my cat meowing right now. Daisy, do you have a pick for the tournament? Do you want to come up? Do you want to come up on the camera? You haven't made an appearance for a long time, Daisy. I think it's about time you show your face. What do you think? If I pick you up, are you going to run away? Yep, and she ran away. I didn't even have to lean over. She ran away. She knew it was coming. She does not like being picked up. All right. Mississippi State minus 1.5, minus 105. I think they can kind of have some success on the perimeter against the Baylor Bears. Alabama minus 23.5, minus 105 against Robert Morris. Robert Morris, 143rd in effective field goal percentage. They do not have the firepower to keep pace with Alabama or have the ability to take advantage of Alabama's weakness. They're also 205th in three-point defense, 269th in turnovers per possession. They just don't have the makeup of a team that I think can hang with a team like Alabama that has just an unbelievable amount of firepower. I know I'm laying a lot in these big lopsided games. I'm laying a lot of points, but I think this goes back to I think most of these games, if the spread is big, I'm laying the points, and if the spread is small, I'm taking the points. I think that goes back to my theory that, or my belief that this season's tournament, it's very top heavy. It's the 1 seeds, and then a little gap, and then the 2 seeds, and then a little gap, and then the 3s and 4s, and then a gap, and then the rest of the tournament, the rest of the teams. I don't think a Robert Morris can hang with Alabama. Minus 23.5, minus 105. Although I'm saying that there is a team a little bit later that I'm taking to cover as a huge underdog. On this one, actually, I'm about to take two. Lipscomb against Iowa State. I will take Lipscomb plus 14.5, minus 102 against Iowa State. Iowa State, obviously, without their best player, is it Keyshawn Gilbert? So that is obviously significant. They did a smart thing of not announcing that until after Selection Sunday, so it wouldn't affect their seeding. Now, because he's out, they're a little bit overseeded. But even if you, it's more than just the fact that he's out of the tournament, because obviously the fact he's out of the tournament is already baked into the line. Iowa State does not have a good stylistic matchup in this one because they thrive in forcing turnovers. That's a big reason why they win their games. Lipscomb turns the ball over on just 14.2% of their possessions. That's the 25th best mark in college basketball. Lipscomb is also 22nd in effective field goal percentage. They are a three-point shooting team. Iowa State ranks just 134th in opponent three-point field goal percentage. So I will take the points with the Lipscomb. What's their mascot? If you haven't noticed, I love just memorizing mascots of random schools. It's one of my favorite things. When a school gets brought up, no matter where I am, I say go, and then I say their mascot. The Bisons. Go Bisons. What city is Lipscomb in? A little trivia for you listeners. I'll give you 5 seconds. What city are the Lipscomb Bisons based in? The answer is Nashville, Tennessee. Who knew? Not me. Not me. Moving on, we got Memphis against Colorado State. I'm going to take Memphis plus 1.5 minus 105. Why? Say it with me. Fade the Mountain West. Colorado State's obviously a very good shooting team, but I don't care. Memphis is also a pretty good shooting team, very good defensive team. The biggest issue for the Tigers, change their name, too common, is they're 305th in turnovers per possession, but Colorado State doesn't force turnovers. They're only 198th in opponent turnovers per possession. So they can't take advantage of the biggest weakness for Memphis, and they are from the Mountain West. They stink. I'll take Memphis plus 1.5 minus 105. This might be my best bet of the first round. It is the Terps, Maryland, minus 10.5 minus 105 against Grand Canyon. Very high in Maryland, obviously. If you listen to my bracket yesterday, you know how high I am on this team. And I think this is a bad stylistic matchup for Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon, 66.4% of their shots come from the 2-point range. That is the 54th highest rate in the country. Now they face a Maryland team that ranks 53rd in opponent 2-point field goal percentage. Teams are shooting just 47.6% from 2-point range against them. Also, this may surprise you. Maryland is 6th in the country in average scoring margin, plus 14.7. 6th in the country, despite being a 4 seed, 6th in the country in average scoring margin. If you can beat the Big Ten by an average of 14.7, now I know this includes out-of-conference games, I get it. But if you can have an average scoring of plus 14.7, you can beat Grand Canyon by 11. Maryland minus 10.5, minus 105. All right, let's talk underdogs. Florida against Norfolk State, the Spartans. I will take Norfolk State plus 28.5 is the spread in this game. Norfolk State, the Spartans, plus 28.5 minus 110. Big reason why. A big reason why Florida actually blows teams out is because of how fucking tall Florida is. Norfolk State, you don't usually see a lot of these smaller conference teams have big guys. Norfolk State's a big team. Their biggest guy is a guy 6'11", Kuluel Mating. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that. Kuluel Mating. M-A-D-I-N-G. Kuluel Mating. 6'11". They also have a few guys who are like 6'7", 6'8". So Norfolk State actually can hang with Florida when it just comes size. Just man-to-man. Size to size, Norfolk State can hang with them. They're also a decent shooting team, 98th in the country in effective field goal percentage. And 72.3% of Norfolk State's shots come from 2-point range. That's the 5th highest rate in college basketball. Now they face a Florida team whose 50.5% of the points scored against Florida comes from 2-point range. That's 225th in the country. So I do think that size, that interior offense, they're not going to beat Florida, obviously. But 28.5 points, I think there's enough there for me to think the Spartans can keep it within the spread. I'll take Norfolk State, the Spartans, plus 28.5. All right. You guys ready for my upset pick for the first round? 2019, the UC Irvine Anteaters upset Kansas State. I was on them. It is what made me become a UC Irvine Anteaters fan. In 2021, I correctly predicted Abilene Christian to defeat Texas in the first round, and since then I've been seeking that high of betting the money line on a big upset in the opening round of the NCAA tournament. I have found my candidate for this year. It is the Troy Trojans plus 550 to take down the Kentucky Wildcats. They do two things that I'm looking for in a team to pull off an upset in the opening round. Number one, they are a three-point shooting team. Any team that takes a ton of threes, if they get hot from beyond the arc, that can put a lot of pressure on their opponent. They're 57th in three-point shot rate, and they're also 79th in the country in extra scoring chances per game, getting plus 2.4 extra scoring chances. Fourth in offensive rebounds. If they can grab a ton of offensive boards, things could get a little sketchy here for the Wildcats. Now, I know Coach Cal's no longer in Kentucky, but this is a team, at least. This is a school who has historically choked in the opening round the past few years. St. Peter's a couple years ago, Oakland last year. Maybe it wasn't a Coach Cal problem. Maybe it's a Kentucky problem. Maybe it's a program problem. Maybe it's the type of athletes they get on their team that causes those first-round collapses. So I'm going to take a shot at Kentucky losing in the opening round again. My upset pick for the round of 64, the Troy Trojans plus 550. How about that? Although UC Irvine was my first love, Abilene Christian upsetting Texas was electric in 2021 because nobody else was on Abilene Christian. I went on all the radio shows that week and said, look at Abilene Christian. They force a ton of turnovers. Texas turns the ball over a ton, and that was an electric. I think it was the last game of the night. It was the most impressive defensive effort I've ever seen from a team. They're jumping all over the place, putting their body on the lines, and I think they won on a couple like game-winning free throws at the end of the game. Electric. The real ones know. If you've been following me since 2021, you were on that with me. That was an electric win. It might be, like I said, UC Irvine upset over Kansas State was my first love, but if I were to just rank my overall favorite college basketball game ever watched, favorite bet to ever win in college basketball, it was Abilene Christian when they took down Texas in 2021. Although Abilene Christian, you know what their school mascot is? The Wildcats changing. Too many Wildcats. All right, we got New Mexico and Marquette. I know I haven't been giving out a ton of total bets for the first round, but we got a little string of total bets coming up, starting with Marquette and New Mexico. I'll go over 153.5 minus 110 against between New Mexico and Marquette. Now, I know what you're saying. It's Mountain West. Maybe I should just fade the Mountain West, but New Mexico is, I know they didn't win the title, but they were the best regular season team over the Mountain West. So I'll give New Mexico a little bit of forgiveness, a little bit of slack. I think the Mountain West should have two teams in the tournament this year. New Mexico and, San Diego State, though, had some good out-of-conference wins. Utah State shouldn't be in it. Colorado State shouldn't have been, but they won the conference, so you have to give them one. Regardless, I'm not going to fade the Mountain West in this one. If you do, I encourage it. But I do like the over a little bit better. Over 53.5. Should be one of the faster paced games of the first round. New Mexico is 8th in pace. Marquette is 172nd in pace, so top half of the country, just barely. But also, both teams' offenses do what is the weakness of the opposing defense. For example, New Mexico is a 2-point shooting team. Marquette struggles to defend the 199th in opponent 2-point field goal percentage. Marquette is a 3-point shooting team, and New Mexico ranks 186th in perimeter defense. So offensive strengths going up against defensive weaknesses, and then we have a team that ranks 9th or 8th in the country in pace. So I think that's going to be a high-scoring affair. Daisy, relax. Unless you're going to come up and say hi to the camera, just relax. I'll let you out in 5 minutes. I'm almost done. Come here. Another over bet for the people here. Akron against Arizona. We got another fast-paced affair here between the Zips and the Wildcats. I think I have a little Arizona PTSD. I've picked Arizona to go on deep runs in the tournament now for a number of years, and they always disappoint me, so now I'm hesitant to bet on them. They're kind of like a Kentucky. For some reason, they just haven't shown up in the tournament lately. But this could be the fastest game of the entire round of 64. Akron's 17th in pace of play. Arizona 68th. They're also both great shooting teams, 38th and 83rd in effective field goal percentage. And just like my last over bet, the offensive strengths match up well with the weakness of the defenses. Akron is 52nd in three-point shooting. Arizona is 169th in defending the 3. Meanwhile, Arizona is 73rd in 2-point shooting. Akron is 167th in defending the 2. Every time I bet, total bet, it's going to be a similar handicap. It's gonna not only is it about pace, but it's about how offensive strengths match up with weak defensive strengths or weaknesses. All right, moving on to Oklahoma and UConn. I'm going to take Oklahoma. I'm going to take the Sooners plus 5.5 here against UConn. I think Oklahoma might be a little bit of an underrated team in this tournament. 38th in effective field goal percentage. And look for turnovers to be a little bit of an issue for UConn. 175th in turnovers per possession. And also, UConn's perimeter defense this year has been bad. 257th in the country in opponent three-point field goal percentage, letting teams shoot 35.1% from beyond the arc against them. Oklahoma, sneakily one of the best three-point shooting teams. 37%. They're hitting their threes at a rate of 37% this season. I think they can attack the perimeter of the UConn defense, and I think they can cover the spread, if not win this game outright. I like Oklahoma plus 5.5. against the back-to-back defending champs. Also in my bracket, I have updated it since handicapping this game. I now have Oklahoma advancing to the round of 32 over UConn. So how about that? That's a fun little change I made to my bracket. Bryant against Michigan State. This is my only under bet for the opening round. I'm going to go under 152.5 minus 110. Now, the reason why this total is so high is because Bryant is 7th in pace in the country. Michigan State's also in the top 100 in pace, but neither team is a great shooting team. 151st and 165th in effective field goal percentage, but 16th and 66th in defensive efficiency. Also, both teams take the majority of their shots from down low from 2-point range, and the defenses rank 46th and 106th in opponent 2-point field goal percentage. So I think the defenses are set up, both of them set up for a good performance. The pace is obviously a little bit of an issue, but I think that pace has inflated the total higher than it should be. I'll go under 152.5 Bryant and Michigan State. Last pick outside of the two games that we don't know what the matchups are yet. Liberty against Oregon. Liberty Bibberty. I will take Liberty Flames plus 7.5 minus 115 against Oregon. The best shooting team in the 2025 NCAA Tournament is the Liberty Flames, second in the country, first in the tournament, and effective field goal percentage, 58.4%. Even hotter than that lately in their last 3 games. Effective field goal percentage of 68.1%. They've been shooting the lights out lately. Next closest tournament team in EFG is Duke. But not only is Liberty a great shooting team, they are also 19th in defensive efficiency. Oregon in those two metrics, 105th and 83rd. Obviously, Oregon has played much better competition, but I just simply can't overlook a Liberty team that is that good with their shooting. They were like a decent Big Ten team, but I'm not really afraid of a decent Big Ten team, like an above-average Big Ten team. You know what I mean? It was an above-average SEC team, sure. If it was a good Big Ten team, sure, but like an above-average Big Ten team, I think could be an upset candidate against the best shooting team of the tournament in Liberty Bibberty. So Liberty plus 7.5, minus 115. There you go. Those are 30 of my 32 picks for the round of 64. Follow me on Twitter at Iain MacBets. I will tweet out my picks for the other 2 games involving the final 2 play-in games on Wednesday night after those games are concluded. But outside of that, you have my 30 picks for the opening round. We're already 2-0 in the tournament after winning both bets tonight. Let's keep the momentum going. Let's see if we can finish profitable for the 2025 NCAA Tournament. I will have my picks out. I don't know, to be honest. For the round of 32, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I might record Friday morning for my Saturday picks, and then maybe Saturday morning for my Sunday picks. But regardless, I will have a Bacon Bets podcast episode out for my picks for those. And at the very least, I'll have them out on Twitter somewhere. So just make sure you're following me on Twitter, and you'll see when I have those picks locked in. Gamble or bless. Enjoy the action. These are some of the best days. In my opinion, it is Week 1 NFL is the best day of the sports betting calendar. Number 2 is Thursday and Friday of the NCAA Tournament. So we're there. We're here. Enjoy it. Gambler or blessed. Good luck with all your bets, and I'll talk to you here shortly.